gentleman named John Kerry. It's like, hey, you need to play basketball. Or do you play basketball? And I was like, no, I don't know how to play basketball. It's like, well, I'm going to teach you if you want. I said, my parents are not going to let me play basketball. I'm supposed to go to school and then come home. That's it. And long story short, he goes and speaks with my parents, and he said the magic words. If he gets good enough, he'll get a scholarship and get a free education. They heard that word free. It was a wrap after that.
Hey, man, working class people like nothing more than that word, free.
Man, free education, they said he's going to play basketball. Okay. And once I started, it was, I put my all into it because I don't like doing anything halfway. And the minute, like I said, when I was in school, I was an A student. I was valedictorian of my high school for 4 years. I was the number one student. And, I went to an all-boys Catholic school, so it's not like I did, minimum work. We had some bright people in that school. But I always focus on being the best at whatever it is that I do. I don't always make it, but I give it my all.
That's awesome. You came up in a very special time in New York basketball. You're talking about Mark Jackson, John Sally, Pearl. You had Kenny Anderson. Talk to me about basketball in New York at that time, please.
Oh, man. You know what? I was watching these guys play, and I'll go further back. People, a lot of guys that folks wouldn't even know. I grew up in Rucker, in the Polo Grounds across the street from Rucker Park. And so we had, Jerry Ice Reynolds. We had Gary Springer. I mean, just guys that were just incredible. We had a guy named Nigel Wallace who was like Michael Jordan before Michael Jordan, and also we had, the Destroyer, Joe Hammond. So I've seen all those guys play, at an early age. Even though I wasn't into basketball and playing basketball, I would see these guys in my neighborhood and watch them play at Rucker Park. But once I got to playing basketball, goodness, it was like, I want to be like these guys, as far as how good they were. And so, like you said, Pearl Washington, that's one of my guys, Mark Jackson, Kenny Smith, John Sally. I've seen all these guys. I played against them, and I knew I wasn't at their level, but I wanted to get to their level, and that's why I spent so much time in the gym, because I saw how good these guys were, and I saw how popular they were because of how good they were. I was like, I want that. I want to feel that. I want to experience all of that.
I mean, I bet, man. This is the question when we talking about basketball. How, you at the Rucker, you got St. John's doing that thing with Chris Mullin and Mark Jackson and Bill Winnington, Jason Williams later on. How did you end up replacing? What made you want to replace the man? Because you came right after Ralph Sampson. Everybody always says it's tough to replace the man. You want to be the man who replaced the man who replaced the man. What made you say, no, St. John's, one of the biggest programs in the country, but I'm going to go down and follow a legend like Ralph Sampson?
A couple of things happened within that. And it's funny you mentioned St. John's because I was heavily recruited. Tom II wanted me so bad. But I didn't want to stay in New York. I had spent enough time. I had been in New York 10 years now, and I just didn't want to stay in New York. When I visited Virginia, I just loved how small Charlottesville was, and how here's the thing that really stood out to me, and I always say this to people, and I laugh about it, but it's like it was a different smell in Charlottesville than it was in New York. And literally, that's what it was. It was that smell, that fresh air.
Real air.
It's hard to explain, but it's like that. I was like, wait a minute, if I can stay here for a couple of years, without the pollution and the smog and the nastiness that is New York, and I do love my city, but man, that freshness, it got me, and I just wanted to be there. And so it was as simple as that. It's, a little thing like that. But knowing that I was going to replace Ralph Sampson, I didn't have a problem with that. They were like, oh, he's the next one. I'm like, no, I'm the first Oden Polynice. That's how I looked at it.
My man, I like that. A lot of people are not willing to take on that task. You hear about it in football. Who's going to replace this guy? Who's going to be? Chicago's still ready to replace MJ. So I definitely understand. But you embrace the challenge. When you get to Virginia, you in the ACC, arguably the toughest conference, even to this very day. How does that feel? Because now you're playing against Michael Jordan, you're playing against James Worthy, you're playing against Sam Perkins, you're playing against the guys at Wake Forest. Talk to me about that experience.
You know what? Freshman year, it was a struggle early on. I got hurt like the first week at Virginia because I've never worked out like we did that first week. We used to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to get to the track. Well, a trail, not a track, but a trail. And we would run 3 miles before breakfast. And I'd never run 3 miles in my life. I've walked 3 miles in Haiti, but I've never ran 3 miles and being timed for it. And so I wasn't used to stuff like that. I wasn't used to lifting weights. And so I had to learn this stuff. I got hurt the second or third day of running. I stepped on a rock and got a bone bruise. And they were, like, questioning my toughness. I'm like, wait a minute, do you know who I am? Do you know where I came from? The last thing you need to question is how tough I am. So from that moment on, I told myself, no one's ever going to question how tough I am ever again. So I just got the trainer to give me a pad. He cut a little hole in it and put it in my taped it to my foot and put my shoes on, and I finished out the training, and the rest is history. I just went in there and just, whether it was Michael Jordan or Worthy, as you mentioned, or Muggsy Bogues, or whomever, I don't care who, Len Bias, Brad Daugherty, I don't care who was in front of me, you were going to get it. That was the bottom line. And I ended up becoming a starter in the middle of the season and never relinquished that until I left Virginia and led my team to the Final Four as a freshman.
I was just about to say that. You guys made the Final Four as a freshman.
That's
something
right.
That Ralph Sampson only did one time, and he was Ralph Sampson from the word go.
Exactly. He didn't make it, I think, until his junior year. I did it my freshman year. So
that's awesome. Hey, you know what? When you step on the basketball court, I don't remember the first time, but I can remember the first time I stepped on the basketball court in a true team thing situation where jerseys and it's a clock. What happened to make you say, okay, I can do this? Is there anything? Do you remember what clicked that made you say? Because I know initially you're probably a little intimidated, like you said, you wasn't working out, and these are world-class athletes, and now, only 10 years into the country, you are in big-time basketball. You're not only in basketball, you're in big-time basketball. Talk to me about that experience, please.
Well, the beginning of it, like in high school, what it was getting hurt, trying to catch the ball. Learning how to play basketball was really tough for me. But once I got it, I got it. And I remember going to a camp the summer of my junior year. And the gentleman by the name of Jeff Rulin, who's a former NBA player, part of the Bruce Brothers, him and Rick Mahorn played for the Washington Capitals at that time. Yeah. And so he pulled me out there to demonstrate some stuff, and this was the biggest man I had ever encountered in my life. And so I'm standing there next to him, and he's like posting me up, and he has me post, and he's showing me some stuff. And I was like, oh, my God, if I don't get it right, this is the kind of people I'm going to have to go up against. I got to figure this thing out. So my brain is just running right now. I was like, there's no way I'm ready right now. So that was a trigger for me to, like, really pick it up, to get myself going. And then once I got to Virginia, it was my other catalyst was my first start. I was going up against Mike Brown, who was similarly built like Jeff Rulin and Rick Mahorn, just big bruiser dude, and he's dominating the country. He's averaging about 27 points a game. He's just a man mountain. And so I'm like, and I went back to that experience with Jeff Rulin. Here it is, the guy, the big guy that you were afraid of. This is your first start. and I shut him down. I scored double-figure points, and I held him. I didn't shut him down, but I held him in check, way below his average, and I was the start after that. But it was that fear, and so I started using fear as the motivator, and that became the thing for me. It's like whenever, and I always knew when I was going to have a good game because my stomach started turning. So whenever I felt my stomach turning, I was like, "Oh, I'm okay now," because I'm afraid. And so that was a good thing. I used it in a positive. Instead of getting scared and crumbling, I made it. It made me stronger and tougher.
And you know what? Honestly, I can definitely identify with that because if even to this day, if I'm not nervous, like even when I used to be in corporate America, if I went into a job interview too comfortable, I knew I assumed I was not going to get the job. I was like, I ain't get this job. But if I went in there just nervous and didn't know what to say, I remember getting the job, and the manager, after I got the job, we became friendly. And I said, "Hey, man, what made you hire me?" She's like, "I asked you why should I hire you?" And the look on your face was, "Why not?" And I was like, "Hey, to be honest with you, I didn't have an answer." Because he asked me, and I was like, "Oh, God." And he said, the look on my face was like, "What are you talking about? Why should you?" So I definitely understand that fear. Maybe it's a poverty thing. Maybe it's, hey, I don't want to be an abject failure, so I'm going to toughen up and move forward. So I can definitely identify with that.
Definitely, and it helps you from being overconfident too. And sometimes we lose jobs being overconfident.
This is true because enough about me. But we can go about me for a while. But what was that seminal moment in the ACC that you said, you know what, I'm ready to step up? Because now you're a starter. You contain Mike Brown. You're on your way. What's the moment that you said, okay, not only do I deserve to be here, I could shine a little bit?
Akeem Olajuwon. That was after, we ended up playing them, and it was on their home court, and, if we jump forward, that's who, we played in the Final Four, but prior to that, we meet him in the regular season. Again, a great player. Everybody saw, oh, he's going to kill this freshman, yada, yada, yada. Well, he's not killing me. I'm playing well. I'm holding Akeem Olajuwon in check. And then all of a sudden, I had just scored on him. I'm running down court side by side. He elbows me dead in my throat, takes me to the ground. I'm holding my neck. I'm choking. I'm literally like I wasn't expecting it. It's a win from me. I'm thinking I'm dying right now. That's how hard he hit me. And so I'm like, wait a minute. Did this guy just hit me in the throat? And so, again, that was because of what I was doing to him. I got him so frustrated that that's what he resorted to. And so, again, that was another catalyst for me. And so I was like, okay, that's how they're going to do it? Fine. I promise you it'll never happen again. But I didn't go back at him. So I started to learn how to use my brain. Now I got him. The rest of his life, he's always wondering, when am I going to get him?
Wow.
But it's like, and you know what? We ended up being friends. Once we got in the NBA, we hung out, had beers together and all that good stuff. Until this day, I kid you not, it's like, is he ever going to get me back? I know he's still thinking about it. But I'm like, I'm just going to hold it. I'm never going to get you back because it doesn't matter to me. But as long as you keep thinking I'm going to get you back, I have an upper hand on it.
This is true. This is true. Actually, thinking the fight is on the way is actually worse than losing the fight because you're always on guard. You're never easy. So definitely, I can definitely identify with that. Now, you got Olajuwon, you got Mike Brown. How was it, the team of the day is the North Carolina Tar Heels. I know they come in the gym. You got Kenny Smith from your hometown. You got Brad Daugherty. You got Big Sam Perkins and the man. Talk to me about that.
Well, you know what? It was the same thing. I mean, I had seniors on my team. And, Othell Wilson was a junior, I think, but we had Rick Carlisle, Ricky Stokes. So we had some, guys that had been there with Ralph, and they've been through it already. So